Welcome back to the Sunday edition of the South African Morning. Middle-income South Africans have been paying significantly more for electricity. This after Eskom increased its electricity tariffs by 15.63% on the 1st of April. To be fair, it's not just middle-income South Africans, it's all South Africans, isn't it? Well, that's data according to FNB. Electricity is certainly one of the largest spend categories for lower to middle-income customers. Energy expert Ted Blom joining us to unpack what this really means for us this morning. Hello to you, Ted. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. Taking a look at your tweet from just a few years ago, we have to start on a bit of a sour note, don't we? An expectation this will be the worst year for Eskom for some time.
Absolutely. I mean, besides the cost of electricity going through the roof, the availability or reliability of Eskom's power has also dropped from 95% in 2001 down to close to 60% at the moment, and I expect it to drop further.
And then we start seeing headlines, as we were running here on ENCA, Ted, that Eskom is now taking over from indebted municipalities. I think it was Maluti Apolopofong as well there. Then we're hearing about electricity being given for free to very low-income earners. I suppose those who are suggesting Eskom is trying to do everything they can perhaps don't understand the maths behind this. Just how bad is the financial system at Eskom? And are we ever going to see a point where Eskom is out of the red?
Well, the situation is very bad, but let me just draw you to the headlines of the last 2 or 3 weeks. The reason why the situation is so bad at Eskom is because of all the corruption. I'm on record of saying that there's more than 800 billion rands worth of corruption at Eskom over the last 12 years. And I can prove those numbers. And I'm shocked that the new management at Eskom haven't actually done a due diligence and sorted out or identified the problem. What they keep on doing is just increasing the price year after year. And to justify it, they say that the price of electricity versus demand is inelastic. So they believe that they can push up the price of electricity as much as they want to, and we, the consumers, will just keep on demanding more and more. Well, that big party is about to come to an end, as more and more people and municipalities and companies have found that when they do their homework, that it's probably more efficient to be off the grid, and that's what's happening at the moment.
To be fair as well, though, Ted, I think a lot of people, especially this focus of ours for the lower to middle income, where we're talking about the cost of living, as little as an increase in the food basket of 350 rand. That's gone up by 8%. Marcel will unpack that later for us. That makes a difference to low-income households where perhaps going off the grid, even simply a generator, a UPS, this is simply not an option for them, isn't it? And do you think Eskom understands the knock-on effects for those who aren't as fortunate to be able to go off the grid?
Absolutely not. The people at Megawatt Park live in a glass house where the average salary is over 800,000 rand a year. So, I mean, I call them the Eskom millionaires because on average, every Eskom worker is a millionaire every year. There was some outreach by the Scandinavian countries to help the indigents who are struggling with electricity prices. They sponsored a couple of billion rands worth of solar water geysers because at the end of the day, when you analyze your electricity cost, about 25 to 30% of it's made up of heating water, and the other major one is cooking. And they donated billions of rands of money for solar water geysers. And if you drive past Alexandra and some of the townships, you actually see these things. But the sad news is that between Eskom, the Department of Energy, and Rotec, the Eskom subsidiary that was actually charged with installing those solar water geysers, more than half of the money got stolen as well. So, once again, everybody is impacted by the endemic corruption at Eskom, and they haven't even started looking at Rotec. I mean, they haven't put one person behind bars, and they've identified, well, the the lawyers, Bowman Gilfillan, have identified 178 billion rands worth of corruption. The SIU's identified 138 billion rands worth of corruption. The problem is, if more than half of the money that you spend goes to corruption, well then it means that you and me as citizens and the consumers of electricity are funding that. And more than half of what we're paying goes to corruption. And we're only getting half value for what corruption is really a big, serious problem in terms of delivering value at Eskom. But I think that's about to come to an end. I'm about to do an expose in the next week or so about how and where the exact cash flows have gone, on top of what Bowman Gilfillan have done and the SIU have done. And there's a municipality at White River which has cottoned on to the actual depth of corruption on the tariffs of Eskom. The tariffs have gone up by more than 500% over the last 12 years. And if you follow the Constitution and Note 71 from Treasury, the price of electricity is not allowed to go up by more than CPI. And that means that you and I should not be paying more than 50 to 60 cents a kilowatt hour versus the over 2 rand that we're actually paying at the moment. It's really a disease that has killed South Africa's economy and is busy killing its citizens because we cannot afford the price of electricity.
Ted, I'm going to ask you when this expose comes out, are you going to say yes, that you're going to speak to Gareth Edwards and Marcel Gordon first on ENCA, aren't you, when the expo comes out, aren't you?
You're most welcome. I mean, and I'll make a note of that undertaking. Yes, certainly.
We'll hold you to that. But a final question to you, Ted, because I look forward to this expose. I'm sure the entire country does. Just help someone understand that it's not just Eskom and the cost of electricity that's being paid each month, whether it's prepaid or through our local city accounts, but that knock-on effect it has on the cost of living. We talk about this grocery basket, the increased production costs of food. I mean, there's a knock-on effect. In the last minute I have with you, just unpack that for me. It goes down the rabbit hole, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's not one activity that I can think of in this country that doesn't require electricity. Farming requires, schooling requires, traveling requires. So there's a knock-on effect in every single sector of the economy of when the electricity tariffs increase or when the electricity is not available. Similarly, when it's not available, we're killing our economy. Mark Schuster reckoned at a rate of about 30 million rand an hour. I think it's probably more than that. But the bottom line is that South Africa, as a first world economy in most of the city centres and towns, is 100% reliant on availability of cheap, abundant electricity. And that's what South Africa's economy was grown on for the last 80-odd years. So for Eskom now not to be able to supply cheap, reliable energy is just anathema to the growth in the economy. It's not possible.
Ted Blom, always a pleasure speaking to you, energy expert. I'm going to hold you to that expose. You'll be speaking to us first here on ENCA when that comes out. Some worrying information, I'm sure, going to come out in this expose. Electricity prices increasing by 15%. The cost of living is going up. The cost of groceries going up. That's part of our focus here on the South African Morning on ENCA.